The Sweeper Monk, Heavenly Deities, and the Secret to Wealth.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's analysis. Today, we are going to dive into a fascinating story from an ancient Buddhist scripture, the Karma Sataka, the Sutra of 100 Karmas. What does this story entail? It features an incredibly destitute sweeper monk, mysterious visitors from the deep reaches of the cosmos, and most importantly, we are going to unveil the true underlying mechanism behind the concept of manifestation and achieving your desires. Now, please note we are not listening to this merely as some mythical fairy tale. Instead, we want to look past the surface of this raw material to excavate profound insights that remain deeply practical to this very day. Honestly, have you ever wondered in your heart why some people always manage to welcome incredible good luck right when they need it most? It's like when we see someone suddenly achieve massive success, or encounter the perfect patron at a critical juncture, a thought always flashes through our minds. Wow, why does the goddess of fortune always smile on them? How on earth did they pull that off? Our script today happens to provide an incredibly concrete and logically rigorous answer to the seemingly random phenomenon. Part on the Brahmanesque quest in search of a sponsor. Our story unfolds in the ancient city of Shravasti. Imagine a Brahmin whose life is plagued by severe hardship, with a large family to feed. To survive, he locks his sights on a local tycoon renowned for his immense compassion, Anathapindika, the chief benefactor. The Brahmin thinks to himself, I must rely on this billionaire, that's the only way I'll make it through. To him, this is literally his golden ticket to a better life. And care to guess what he does next? He stalks the benefactor in the most literal sense of the word. Every single day, he follows the man like a shadow, clinging to him relentlessly. He follows him until the benefactor finally cannot help but turn around and ask him what on earth is wrong. Upon hearing the Brahmin's tragic predicament, this grand philanthropist actually nods his head and generously promises to take care of his livelihood. Party at the endless sweep, the magical dust. This is where things get really interesting. A sweeping chore, something you and I would find mundane to the core, suddenly turns into an extraordinary ordeal. On one occasion, they visit the Jetavana monastery together. Now, Anathapindika's usual routine is to bring Wubai people along with him for a massive cleanup every day. This detail is crucial because, according to masters' commentaries, regularly cleaning a shrine or a public communal space accumulates immense merit. However, on that specific day, the benefactor happens to be tied up with other matters. So, quite naturally, he hands the broom over to the Brahmin. The Brahmin is absolutely thrilled, takes the broom, and starts sweeping with all his might. But he perceives that this Brahmin actually possesses exceptional spiritual capacity. He has the potential to awaken the supreme mind of enlightenment. Thus, to guide him, the Buddha subtly deploys a touch of his divine power. What happens next is nothing short of miraculous. The dust on the ground begins to multiply inexplicably. That's right, the more the Brahmin sweeps, the more dust appears. It is like a bottomless pit. He sweeps until he is drenched in sweat and utterly exhausted. Yet by the time night falls, he still hasn't finished. Since the job isn't done, he cannot leave. He is forced to spend the night at the monastery. And this single night turns out to be the ultimate turning point of the entire story. Part I, the Night of Miracles, a heavenly VIPs. As the sun sets, the Brahmin finds himself stranded in the temple. And a sequence of mind-blowing miracles immediately begins to unfold. At dusk, the Buddha makes a rare exception, allowing his disciples Venerable Ananda and other bhikkhus to display their supernatural powers right before the Brahmin's eyes. You have to understand, the Buddha usually strictly forbids his disciples from casually flexing their miraculous abilities. But tonight is a monumental exception. The Brahmin is, of course, utterly spellbound. Yet, this is merely the appetizer. As the night grows darker, weightless deities of cosmic proportions begin to line up and make their grand appearances. At the beginning of the night, the four heavenly kings descend. At midnight, Sakra, the Lord of deities himself, manifests, and as dawn approaches the heavens, even Mahabrahma arrives. This lineup is nothing less than the highest spec VIP roster in the universe. Witnessing this with his own eyes, the Brahmin is completely dumbfounded. He quickly asks Venerable Ananda, My goodness, what are these heavenly beings doing here? The Venerable calmly replies, They are here to pay their respects to the world-honored one. These words hit the Brahman's mind like an atomic bomb. He instantly grasps a powerful piece of logic. Think about it. If even the highest, most inconceivable deities in the entire universe must respectfully bow and pay homage to the Buddha, then achieving the state of Buddhahood must undeniably be the most supreme, ultimate goal in this cosmos, right? Part IV. The vow in the prophecy, the ultimate goal. After experiencing this wild, profound night, the Brahman is deeply inspired. He makes a firm resolve to want to achieve the state of Buddhahood. But reality is always harsh. To achieve Buddhahood, one must practice vast amounts of generosity to accumulate merit. Yet, he doesn't have a single penny in his pocket. What can he do? The next morning, he rushes back to the city. He tells Anathapindika all about the mind-bending sights he witnessed the night before and the monumental vow he has taken. And guess what? Upon hearing this, the benefactor is moved to tears by the Brahman's noble aspiration. He cheers him on and, on the spot, agrees to become his full sponsor. He heavily invests a massive sum to completely cover all of the Brahman's expenses for making offerings to the Buddha and the Sangha for 3 whole months. He literally encounters a divine angel investor on the final day of those 3 months of offerings. As the cycle reaches perfection, the Brahman formally makes his grand vow, wishing to use this root of goodness to achieve Buddhahood and rescue countless sentient beings who are still lost in delusion. Right then and there, the Buddha grants him a clear prophecy and assurance. Excellent, virtuous man, in the future, you will certainly achieve Buddhahood, and your title shall be the Tathagata, free from sorrow. Asoka. Part V. Planting the right seeds. The modern revelation. The story reaches a flawless conclusion here. But now, let's pull the camera back to the modern day. Let's imagine these two extreme contrasts. If it were one of us today who suddenly felt a whim to make a grand vow and do a monumental deed of virtue, do you think a billionaire would suddenly pop out of nowhere and say, "Bro, don't worry, the bill is on me"? Or do you think the Buddha would use magic behind the scenes to guide you toward a clear path? Let us be real. In everyday life, we are usually on the flip side. We don't have capital falling from the sky, nor do we have divine magical navigation. Therefore, when analyzing this material, masters often raise a very blunt, perhaps even stinging question: why is it that when others want to make offerings to the Buddha but lack money, a massive gold standard investor immediately shows up to back them? Why is it that when we want to do the exact same thing, not a single person comes to stuff cash into our hands? Nor does any deity step in to activate a cheat code for us. Why can this Brahman unlock miracles so effortlessly, while we can't even scratch the surface? The answer lies entirely within the incredibly rigorous mechanism of karmic cause and effect. In his past lives, this Brahman must have genuinely and reliably fulfilled the wishes of others. That is precisely why he encounters Anathapindika in this life to help realize his own dream. He also maintained 100% unwavering faith in the Buddha, which is why the Buddha personally stepped in to catalyze his awakening. To put it plainly, this is all called planting the cause. If you have never planted the seed of helping others in your past, how could a fruit where others come to help you suddenly grow out of thin air today? Without that good cause, there will absolutely be no good fruit. This is a thoroughly scientific, you reap what you sow iron law of the universe. As we prepare to wrap up today's analysis, I want to leave you with this highly impactful question. Look at how clearly the story tells us that so-called good luck is never a random event falling from the heavens. It is, in reality, the precise return on our past goodwill. So, when you look back at the trajectory of your own life, if your future is indeed 100% determined by the seeds you plant today, then what exactly are you planting for your future at this very moment? I hope today's content brings you some refreshing perspectives to ponder. Thank you all for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.